Hello, good afternoon, evening, good morning, whatever time it may be when you see this. It is I with Lewis, the sixth book in my I See Things in Blue series. Lewis is essentially the father figure for Dario. He spent a lot of time there, all outside of learning the piano and him being his vocal coach, because he offers what his family home doesn't offer, and also for Lewis, it comes from a place of desire because he was raised in the system, and now he has a loving partner, and they have three kids. So she's the 9 to 5 or more. Like, she really works hard, and he settled in to be a stay-at-home dad for their three boys, and he loves teaching, so that's what he does, and that's the relationship dynamic, and a lot of that breathes from his desire to have something that he didn't have, being raised in the system. And then on top of that, knowing what he knows, or living the life that he lived, he can't just look at Dario and see him suffering and not step in. And so it just kind of organically happened. And once that ship was rolling, it was just not going to come back in. And so a lot of these poems in this particular book are heavy, because this book was heavy. When I listened to the audio version, a few of the chapters like had me bawling, because the emotions that Lewis goes through, and some of the experiences that he experiences with Dario that none of the other characters experience, they are heavy because he's trying to do the best that he can to quite literally save Dario. And he's the only, other than probably Gavin's mom, adult that gets enough page time with him for you to see this type of adult figure, doing what they can as a somewhat outsider. Okay, I'm back. Paused it. My mom called. I will always answer her phone calls. If anyone else calls me, that's up for debate. I don't like talking to people, yo. Um, I'm apparently very good at it, but if I had to choose between social interaction and a good book or streaming media so I can watch some movies and shows and shit, I would definitely choose the latter. So, Lewis is basically the most prevalent adult figure in the book that is 100% on um, Lewis's on Dario's side. And what I like about it, and I think someone else mentioned it as well, it could have been my editor, is that you see it a lot more with Dario and Gavin as well. Um, when Dario is, Dario and Gavin as well. Um, this kind of interesting family dynamic. That's something that Dario doesn't have. Even with Raylan, he's not always over there, but since her family dynamic is featured in her book, when he is there, obviously this is what he sees. Um, but they do tend to be the three of them, and they're all together. They tend to be at Gavin's. Um, and I think it's a location thing. He's the closest to the beach. Because Dario stays close to the beach as well. And so does Lewis. Um, I think Lewis is actually closer, but his house is the closest to Gavin's. So it's very interesting, the family dynamics, because I couldn't do it with Dario because that's his biggest problem. And I needed nice versions of what a good family unit would look like, with all the ups and downs and the arguments and the fights. Not a perfect kind of like cookie cutter type thing, because the family dynamics are all different, the way they carry on. And talk to their parents differs because the parents are different. And it was intentional because Dario is the main character, and nothing, like literally nothing, about how he interacts with his parents inspires good things, good feels. And that was a good reason why Kevin was intentionally in the Vantage stories, not a part of them. I didn't have him meet Dario until high school on purpose so that I could sit in what his family unit was like, so that I can have all of these other variations of what a family could be versus what Dario wanted his family to be, and it wasn't. And so, with Lewis to being kind of like the Steppian father figure, he experiences some things that the others just don't experience when it relates to Dario, and especially from a more adult eye. And it's a lot more emotionally intense than I realized it was until I heard my narrator reading it. And they pretty much always nail it. I never really have any corrections. That's why I like them. But yeah, and so a lot of these poems speak to that kind of heavy emotion. So they're slightly darker and they're more about being lost. Like they are kind of like the depressive themes that may show up in the other poems that you've already read. Except I really went there. And I said, because Lewis experiences them on this level. Like, this is where he sees Dario. This is the state that he's trying to help him not be in, and see why he's actually okay just the way that he is, so that he wouldn't live in the type of poems that exist in this book, at the end of this book. And more importantly, the phrase that sells the book didn't exist until I wrote Lewis's book. He tells Dario that you're okay just the way you are, that you're fine just the way you are. I can't really remember the first half of it. And it's okay to see life in blue. And he says that to him and makes him say it back to him every time he's in his presence before he leaves, you know. I'm in the book, so I think I'm going to scroll to see if I can find it, because I always talk about the books before, I move on. So I'm going to go up and see if I can find it. It's amazing. That's what I read with. Remember, you're amazing just as you are, and it's okay to see life in blue. And the series is quite literally called I See Things in Blue. And I had that, the whole time. But Lewis's book was the last book that I wrote. So it was a long time before I got here. And it's literally the most important book in the series, because it encapsulates all the things that Dario is trying to look for: his depression, anxiety, love, and it shows that he's really getting it from an adult figure at that, and one who truly, gets him and understands him. And he's a completely different person every time he's around Lewis. He's not the kid that he is when he's everywhere else, even with Raylan and Gavin. Like, the atmosphere changes him. And unfortunately, from Lewis's point, it doesn't change him enough. Like, he doesn't always feel that his efforts are working. And that comes to a point where he actually thinks he might lose Dario for real, for real. And that's why these poems are so heavy, and it's why I didn't read them when I was reading all those other poems that I redid anyway. Because when I got to Lewis, I just knew. I was like, I don't think I have the emotional wealth, the spoons, the anything to deal with this type of poetry right now. And so I actively chose not to. And all the videos that I just did for acceptance are uploading right now without problems so far, yay. And I gave you 10 minutes of my intro to this book. So I'm done, really. But, forewarning, all of these poems are going to be heavy. So, yeah, I mean, there's no other way to explain it. I think they're heavy. That's debatable. But I think they're pretty intense. And if any of the poems speak to the mental state that Dario is struggling with the most, it's likely these ones, and they match the tone of the book. So there really wasn't anywhere else I could put them. So here they are. And this first one is called Cry of the Unseen. I am what's right in front of you that you cannot see. The one standing beside you, lost in your shadow. If I got trampled on, damaged, destroyed, you wouldn't even realize, take notice I was gone. You tell me things but expect no answers. Spread words of kindness but they get lost in the air. Nothing you say with a note of care ever reaches me because in your mind's eye I am nothing, just nothing. I am that tangible thing thrown aside that you touch, interact with, live with, breathe with. And no matter how real or present I may seem, nothing you do is ever meant to affect me. You look down from above and see only the ground. Look at me dead on and see what's behind where I stand. I reach out my hand for you to hold, but you can't ignore what you don't see. So my hand is just left floating, just floating, not knowing that it has been neglected, because how can it be neglected when to you it was never seen? I'm the one you donate to show your goodwill, the one you say you help, the one for whom you feel. But each day we talk and eat. Together we laugh, or you laugh and what? I guess I just pretend. You don't see that I hurt and pulled down by your words, your actions toward me, your lack of reaction to things I do to you. But I guess nothing has transpired. In fact, I know this to be true because you never see me, though I can see you. I am the one that cries alone in the sunlight, the one that sees only the dark in the middle of day, the one whose darkness is illuminated by one candle slowly fading away to remind me of my solitude. I am here for you to pretend to notice, but what's my name? Say my name. I know you don't know it. I'm just an empty space where a person used to be. In your eyes, I'm the one that ceases to be. I'm the one you pass by in an empty hall. The one whose voice is never heard, no matter how hard I call. I cry. I plead. I'm the one whose heart you claim to love. But how can you love what you don't see? What isn't there? How can you understand something you touch but never feel? Something you hold but can't identify as real. Something so solid yet it slips through your fingers like water. A pillar so strong but you step through it as easy as a doorway. There is no way you can ever know what it is to truly see what your soul refuses to acknowledge. It's even alive, human, a being of substance. Yes, yes, I am all of these things. Or maybe not, because your essence gives my presence no validity. So I am that black hole that is full of all the nothing that creates all the things that people refuse to see. I am the voice that cries so loud it gets lost on the waves of the selfish and the proud. I am the tears that flow into rivers that only I can drown in as you walk above as Christ. I am the pain of 1,000 years that is caused by each time you stare and see nothing but the atmosphere. I am the soul lost in the universe of all the things you don't even know you threw away. I am the blood that stains from being trampled to death, that fertilizes the soil, that grows the flowers round your grave. I am the heart that beats out of sync because it's been damaged by your lack of observation, your lack of upkeep for an entity that is dying. You destroyed me by simply not knowing that I am. I'd wish you 1,000 deaths, but it would be futile. I'd curse you, I'd stab you, I'd murder you, but it would have no effect. You wouldn't feel a thing. How can something you don't recognize cause you any pain? So into the darkness, the shadows of night, and burning into daytime under harsh rays of sunlight is where I shall always go, where I reside, for I am nothing. I am nothing, nothing, I am nothing. I am the opposite of here, even though I am here, for you are blind towards me. I am invisible. I don't even know where to begin here, but if ever a poem was Dario, like he gives everything he has, like literally everything he has, for acceptance by the two people he think should accept him by default. You know, they created him, they feed him, they clothe him, and nothing he does goes beyond surface level. They quite literally don't see him. And it wasn't difficult to pick this piece because I think as an adult, since this is the only adult titled book, Lewis can see this. Like, he can feel it. He's had more life experience. Dario is going through it, but he can look at it and see it for what it is. And his friends, on some level, can also see it for what it is to struggle to be who you are, but instead of choosing that, you choose what you think society wants, what they want to see. And even when you become that, they still don't see you. And I think it speaks to a lot of things, whether it be race, whether it be gender bias, whether it be queer, in the LGBT community, and things like that. Whenever you bury who you are and try to conform that to societal norms, and even after you've given everything you had for this thing that's not you, it's still not seen. It's still not appreciated. It's still absolutely 100% available, or capable is the better word, of using you for what you can give them. Anything beyond that is not worth seeing. You are still beneath them, no matter what you do. And this is Dario's lived experience. He cannot break free from this. The fact that his parents don't really love him, the fact that he goes to church while harboring a church that does sermons about, being homosexual, and he is. The list, he's black, and that comes along with it. I mean, he's biracial, but he is brown enough to think he's too dark to have blue eyes. Hence, I see things in blue. When you put all of that together and you sit with it and you think, which is what I had to do, what poem am I going to put in this book? Cry of the Unseen was easy, and it's hard to read, specifically for that reason. I can find lots of reasons why it's relatable to different people in certain walks of life. And when I picked all of the poems, I knew a lot of them because, God's flight was like that. If God is a bird, he's flown away to leave me. He's flown away and left me behind to freeze away here, and die. That is the very last line of God's flight that I've already done a couple of books earlier. And it's not, none of my poems are that far removed. It's just unfortunate for me that the only way to express Lewis and Dario's connection is with some of my slightly, my more heavier pieces. But I get this on 1,000,001 levels. And it's, I wrote Dario, I created him. But even thinking about it, I'm allowed to feel sad about it, I guess. That he should have to feel this way before even making it out of high school. It's unnecessary. Why are humans like this? Why can't they just be better? Why can't they just be more accepting? Why do they have to force everything to be inside a certain box in order for them to survive, whether it be a religious box, because we see how extreme Christianity is working out for society at large, especially when one of the I don't want to say fanatics, it's another word, diehard devout, and of becoming world leaders. I mean, you're pretty much screwed. There's no workaround for that. Anything that's not that is a problem. So that's where this poem breathes out of. Why can't people just be better? And a lot of these will read from that, because what it does is it alienates you and it makes you feel, like the last line says, invisible. Because even the sects that are sects, the T really didn't come out there, but sects, SECTS, of society that are supposed to embrace you, don't embrace you because something about you is also something that they'll judge you for. So even after you push through everything, like even if it's like race, even if you're brown skin, then you get amongst all the other people who are being discriminated for the same thing, and now you're being discriminated in the midst of other people who are being discriminated because you're slightly different from them, whether it be queer or you're just not black enough, or things like that. So you eventually start to realize that humans in general are just not embracive of things that's different, embracing of things that are different, and invisible is what you feel like. And in order to escape that, you conform, and then you find out they still don't care. So here we are. It's probably the longest video I've done. It's 23, but these ones they're gonna hit different, and hopefully not different enough that I got my books banned. Hopefully they're still safe, but I genuinely don't know. So yeah, that's all I got for that. If you made it this far, as per usual, thanks for stopping by.